Hey everybody, it's Katie. Today's video we are going to talk about getting your little tiny baby infant on a schedule. Now I have a tip that I am super excited to share with you guys, and once you start doing this tip, at least for me, it made a huge difference in everything. So I'm super excited to share this tip on napping and scheduling and all that. I can't wait. Okay, are you ready? Here is the secret, the tip, the thing that made my life so much better, and that is there is no schedule. From 0 to about 11 weeks, no schedule. Don't even try. It's not worth it because babies sleep and your sleep and everything is going to be so erratic that trying to put them on a schedule simply just won't work. They are still awake at night because they're like little bats. You know, if you remember when you were pregnant, at least for me, at nighttime it was like they were pretty still most of the day, but then at nighttime I would lay down for sleep and I'd be like dum 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 dum, kick kick kick, you know, elbow, knee, rib, and I'm like, what is going on? Well, that's because when you're walking around and you're moving all day, it's like lulling them to sleep, but then when you get still, they're like, hey, what's going on? I'm awake. So they're still on this crazy backward schedule of being awake at night and you're trying to sleep at night. And so anyway, no schedule. Don't even try. So today's video is to assure you not to worry. It's okay. A schedule will come. But instead, what I want to talk about today is creating routines and patterns that will serve you after this crazy, foggy time where you're just like, whoa. So the things that we'll talk about today will serve you when it is time to start doing a schedule and napping and when do I put them down and that type of thing. So my first suggestion is start to pay attention to patterns. And I would do that by either writing them on your phone, like going into the notepad, or if you have an actual notepad like this, you can do that as well. Or I'm sure at this point there's apps out there that will help you remember when did they sleep, how long did they sleep, when did they nurse or feed, and how long was it, when did they go to the bathroom, or how many wet diapers have they had. So start to pay attention. This is when you learn your baby. You start to notice little patterns. And it will seem kind of erratic, but noticing patterns will help you do a few things. Number one, it'll help keep you sane because it feels so chaotic when you have a brand new baby because it's like, wait, they were just asleep a few minutes ago. Like, am I supposed to keep them awake? Like, what does this look like? So it'll help keep you sane. And then the other thing is you can also remember what happened that morning. So it's evening time and you're like, oh, I don't remember. How much did they sleep today? I don't know. Well, you pull out your phone or your notebook and you've got that information right there. So it will help keep your brain on track because if you're anything like me, your brain's kind of like those first few months of baby, it's like just gone. So instead of thinking like, okay, my baby fell asleep, 45 minutes ago, it's probably time for another, because sometimes they'll surprise you and they'll have a spurt where they're awake for like an hour and you're like, I'm tired, or why are they still awake, or should they be sleeping? Be asking these questions. So instead of trying to think, okay, well, they just slept, my suggestion, as I mentioned, is to start to think about creating routines and patterns. During this time, start to work on feedings and what does that look like and how is my nursing relationship with my baby, or if you're bottle feeding, what's my system look like, and water temperature, or what's the best position to hold the baby in. So really start to focus on making sure that baby is nursing enough and that there's enough wet diapers in the day and that they're having poops and all that. And then also, as you can, and again, in the beginning, it's like, you're holding them and they're asleep. You put them down and they're asleep. Grandma's holding them, they're asleep. Like, they're just kind of a little bit of a bump on the log. But as you start to get a few weeks in and maybe a month in, start to work on patterns. And this is helpful, as I mentioned earlier, this is helpful later on down the line when you actually do need to put them down for a nap and they're a little more awake. As an example, a routine for nap time could look a little something like this, and you can tweak it to make it your own. But this is something that's kind of worked well for us. And as our babies have gotten older, the routines have changed just a little bit, but there are some things that we do every single time. Well, my oldest isn't napping anymore, but my youngest, she's going to be 3 in a few months, and there's things that we still do every single time I take her in for her 1 hour or her afternoon nap. So a routine could look a little something like, okay, you're noticing the baby's yawning, or they're starting to get a little tired, or it's time, and you're thinking, okay, well, they're a little bit sleepy. So you take them into wherever it is that they're sleeping, whether that's in your room or if they have their own room, and you can kind of dim the lights. If you can, I would do blackout curtains, because that's going to help them understand when it is dark, we sleep. When it is time to get up, it's light. And that's another thing, is like we've got pretty nice curtains in our place, and when it's bedtime, when it gets to be about bedtime even still, we close the curtains and dim the lights, and everybody gets to be calm and quiet. So you go into the room, you dim the lights, close the curtains, do some sort of white noise or a noisemaker. Both of our girls sleep with noisemakers, and I know there are some people who are like, oh, but that's creating a habit schmabbit. I like it, it's good. I sleep with a noisemaker because I hear things and it wakes me up. So a noisemaker, there's some really great ones on Amazon. I like noisemakers. So you go in, turn on the noisemaker, and if you are nursing, maybe you sit down with them in the chair and you nurse, then check their diaper. If you want to start reading them stories, you can. Now, obviously, when they're a few weeks old, if you want to, you can, but that will come. But this would be a time as they get a little older that you could insert a story, and then maybe you do some cuddles and some singing. And then we have our daughter sleeps, our youngest sleeps in a little zip-up sleep sack. So she's in her sack and she's got all of her little items. Now, when they're little tiny babies, obviously don't put anything in the crib with them. They're not ready for that. But again, you can start to introduce loveys and little things as it's age appropriate. So as you do this day in and day out, there's a habit that's formed in their brain, whether they like it or not. So it's like when we go in the room and turn on the noisemaker and dim the lights, it's like their brain's like, okay, it's sleep time. They might not like it, but that's what happens. As an example of patterns and habits and things like that happen, I wanted to share a cute story about my 2.5-year-old. Actually just happened last night. So when we get her ready for bed, it's a lot like what I just described. We go in, we've got the noisemaker, the curtains, and the book, and the snuggles, and the song. And then, so what happens is I lay her in her bed, I cover her up with her blanket, and I give her, she has a water bottle in her bed that it's one of those ones that she could like shake it and it won't spill. And anyway, so she has her water bottle. And then she has her stuffed animals that she likes to have all the loveys like around her. And then she has a little square of really soft fabric. It's like this little plush. It's called a lovey. I don't know what to say about it. It has a little butterfly on it. Anyway, what I would do is I put it right next to her face, because my oldest used to like to take her lovey and like cover herself completely. I never got that. I don't know, I'd go in the middle of the night and she'd be covered up, but anyway. So my younger daughter has a lovey as well. So I did all the stuff, but she's holding her lovey in her hand, and I'm like, all right, she's good. So I'm like, okay, honey, good night, I love you. And I turn around to walk out, and she goes, Lovey! Lovey! Mommy, lovey! And I'm like, you have your lovey! What is it? What's the problem? So I turn around and I'm like, you have your lovey, and she's holding it like this. And I'm like, take it. Lay it next to her face like I always do, and she smiles at me and she kind of snuggles in, and I'm like, you're such a turkey. I can't, but that's just to say that this is the pattern that we do every single day for nap and for nighttime, and so this is part of her routine. And after that, she snuggled in and she went to bed. And so obviously 2.5 years, we've been doing something very similar to that for probably a good 2 years. And it's part of her routine, and she expects it. She demands it, apparently. Guys, we have a Facebook page. I don't know if you've checked us out there, but I'd love for you to come over and join us and comment and say hello and visit with us. I love to connect with you guys in that way. It's a little different platform than YouTube. It's pretty fun. We have daily content, so we'd love to have you over there. I'd like to also invite you to be a subscriber. If you're not already, you can click on the little subscribe button, and then you can also, if you click the bell icon, then that means you'll be notified when we put out new videos, which is every week. So if you are a subscriber, you'll hear all about that. And then also, if you like today's video, give it a thumbs up. And lastly, if this is something that you think would benefit someone that you know with a brand new baby who's like, why don't you sleep when you're supposed to? I would be honored if you'd consider sharing it. That would be awesome. Thanks so much. And I hope to see you guys next week for our next video. I hope everyone is doing well and having a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.